So we did the whole major label thing where we got to go and like pick from a handful of producers, all the big producers at the time: Andy Wallace, Terry Date, Keith Cleversley, who did like the Hum record. Yeah, we got to kind of like go out to dinner with all these people, and then they got to like, kind of listen to our music. We had to do these weird. They used to do showcases where you would play. You would go to like SIR and rent a room with a stage, and a producer would sit there in a chair and watch you play songs on a stage. And there was no crowd.
What did that feel like coming from the hardcore scene? What is like? I mean, I can imagine, but can you kind of explain?
What did it feel like? It felt wrong. It didn't. It's. I like rehearsing with bands. I think some of my favorite moments of playing music in my life have been at rehearsals, which is interesting because you can get like you can dive in head first to the music and take it where you want it to go and feel it, and nobody's, you got no one judging you. It's just like the 4 or 5 of you playing. But this was very odd because I think they were looking for you to perform, and that to me was very. I was like, ooh, this does feel gross. I don't like this. We ended up going with Terry, who was like, we made a 19-song demo at this studio downtown called Loho. That was intense because I've never done anything like that before. We kind of were shopping that tape around, and Michael Goldstone had done the Mother Love Bone record with Terry Date. And I was actually a fan of Mother Love Bone. I was really into that record. And we met Terry, and Terry had all these cool. He was at the time producing like the Deftones, who we didn't really know who they were. We ended up going on tour with them months later, but he had done like Fishbone and Soundgarden and Mother Love Bone and lots of stuff. And I was into Soundgarden, the record that he did, and he had this cool thing where he was like, well, I envision like, I like to make the singer of the band very comfortable, so I'll let you hold the microphone and you can like run around the control room and sing on the record. You don't have to stand up to a mic with your hands in your pockets or whatever. And I was like, that's fantastic. And then he was like, well, the problem is he was currently recording a Pantera record and some other record. And it was just like, I think he was fried. And he was like, he had been recording the Pantera record down in Texas. And so he's like, here's the deal. I don't want to travel anymore. I need to go home and like hang out with my family. So I want to do the record at Bad Animals in Seattle, which is the studio that was owned by the two sisters in Heart. And every fucking record was recorded there, like all the Pearl Jam records and the Soundgarden records and Screaming Trees and Heart and like, oh my God, so many. And REM, I think REM had just finished a record when we went in there. I think we found one of their laptops or something in there. But anyway, we ended up choosing him. We flew out to Seattle, and we were there for 10 weeks, I'll bet, which was intense. So we spent 2 weeks rehearsing, and Terry would come into our rehearsals, and we were like we had like just mountains of gear. We were so loud. It was intense. Everybody had full stacks, if not like 2 full stacks maybe. And Eddie had this like huge Eden bass rig, and like it was intense. We were loud. And Terry would come down and give us like pointers, like, hey, let's think about the drum fills right here, or let's think about the vocal right here. Chop this part. It was pre-production. After 2 weeks of that, we went into Bad Animals for 8 weeks, and I think I spent I think bass and drums. These guys loved talking about this at the time too. I think they were done with the bass and drum tracks for the record in 2 days, which they were like, we're the best, They certainly had no shortage of ego, Pete and Eddie, which is kind of like, for being in like a big loud rock band at the time, it's like that's sort of what you wanted. But then they were like, we finished in 2 days. What are you guys going to do? And then Tom and Peter went in and recorded just endless guitars. The guitars on that record are just thick as hell. And
well, I mean, the opening song, Needles, like the opening song to me on that record, sounds almost like a call to arms. Like, okay, we know what you're expecting, but we're just gonna give it to you bigger and better. It's such a great opening song. I mean, was that ever like the layout of that record, song wise? Like, did you put that together? Was it band decisions? Like, because it really is well done.
It was definitely a band decision. We had that 19-song demo, and we carved the songs out. We had this sort of like, we had a couple of directions. It was interesting because we had these songs that were brutal and were like punching you in the face, but I was not like a shouting vocalist. I was always very into like singing and trying to come up with tunes. And growing up, I had like a pop influence, and I think some of these other guys did too. Eddie always used to say that he would, his dream crossover for the band would be the Bad Brains meets the Beatles.
Gotcha.
We were like, yeah, I love that. Let's try and achieve that, But yeah, we sort of carved. We had this one direction where we were working on kind of melodic songs that they weren't mellow, but they were more melodic with a pop sensibility while still retaining that like heavy.
Would Dim the Lights kind of fall into that kind of?
Yeah, and I think that song Waiting maybe.
Okay.
It had that really poppy bass on. Those were like we had more songs like that, and then we had this other chunk of songs that were like that kind of more brutal guitar forward, thing that were just like kind of like post helmet, kind of that.
Would you agree that even in the poppy songs, like you listen, like lyrically, there's still a bunch of brutality in those lyrics, like and there's a power, like that's what I think is so like, and you really hit it when you said it. Those guitars and that hard driving guitars, but then what you brought to it and the way you sang brought like a sensibility to it. That's why when you tell me like, oh, people thought this was this band that was manufactured, like you can't manufacture that, I don't think. So, I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I had come from this school of like hardcore and pop singers who were like bearing their soul. And so I was all about that, like I felt like this kind of, I mean, I had a good life, but I had the like sad teenager and then sad early 20s guy, kind of lost. And I think it reflects in the words to some of those songs. But that was the school I came from. And I think those guys picked up on it. It was I think when the record came out, the reviews, the vocals were very divisive for people. It was sort of like politics right now. Like,
wait, politics are divisive right now?
There were people that were like, the reason I like this record is because the singer is totally different from what's happening in 1996, right? And then other people were like, this record would be awesome if they would kick out that singer. So, and those were the two schools. And I think once in a while on our bad days, I think the band felt a little, because bands are full of like artists with self-esteem issues, and I think we felt like maybe the vocals fucked this record up,
Okay, look, honestly, you got okay. Fuck that. I'm sorry. Like I'm in the camp that you talk about. That, like, dude, like. I would literally, if not every night, almost every night when that record came out, and I ended up being on the Warped Tour, go back to my little room in the little tour bus because I was promoting a movie, and I literally was sleeping with my merch, put that record on. So cancel that idea out of your... The reason why we're talking now is because of those vocals. So yeah.
I felt like, I always felt like, hey, you guys hired me you guys took me into this band to do this thing that I do. I'm not gonna like, I can't do another thing. This is the sound that comes out of my body, and so are we gonna do it? Are we not gonna do it? It was interesting. We had like lots of our management company used to compare us all the time to the Who, which is amazing because I was like, I'm a huge Who fan ever since I was like a little guy.
Right.
But he was like, the band is like explosive and like you come out with these great songs, but you guys just like, you can't figure out how to get along with one another. And like, I think that was part of our downfall was a lot of people made decisions for us because we could argue incessantly about what was right for the band. And so I think that the problem started to be that, the management company was like, well, we have to make this decision quickly, so we're going to make it for you. Here's what you're doing. And then, we'd get into this thing that they said was like the right move for us. And we were like, this is wrong. This is a wrong move for us.